Hello, hello, Crossroads witches and other interesting magical beings. So excited to see you joining me today. I am going to talk a little bit about what's going on with me, the House of Witchcraft, the cottage witches, the barn witches, and of course the favorites, the global witches out there. These are all groups, covens that are part of the House of Witchcraft, and I want to start with me. I know several of you have commented, you've noticed that I've sort of changed my content a little bit. And I like to say, after 4 years as a content creator here up on YouTube, getting to know my audience, what's out there, also looking at what other content creators are creating. You know, I was sitting here thinking like, I really don't want to make another video on basil or some other herb or some other incense or something because I feel it's already out there. You know, what I want to do is encourage you to go have your own relationship, to go find your own magical properties and to get out of the books, to get out of the chair and to go do, all right? I can sit here and list out things for you, but until you get your hands in it, until you smell it, until you taste it, until you grow it, until you harvest it, until you develop a relationship with it, it doesn't matter what I say or any other content creator says or what any book says, all right? You know, the magical qualities, the spiritual attributes, all right, things that's attracted to it, all that is contingent upon you having a relationship, a connection to it, all right? So please, go grow your herbs, go harvest your herbs, go eat your herbs. I think one of the biggest things when people, you know, basil, I'm going to go back to that because I used it as an example, is very easy to grow, and it is something that you can sprinkle in your cookings, put in your salad, put it as a garnish on your cocktail, you know, but it's about using it. And when you use it, you develop a relationship to it. You know what it looks like when it's healthy. You know what it looks like right before it starts to wilt. You know when it's good and dried. You know when it's old and ugly dried and turned into dust. And you do that by using it, all right? And so that's my first thing that I've really started thinking, working in my head, is about encouraging new magical beings to go do. All right. Yes, I love the fact that you listen to me. All right. But I want you to turn off the videos, stop reading the books, and I want you to go outside. All right. That is so important. For me personally, y'all have heard my story, several of you. If not, I'll bring y'all up to date. I'm from South Carolina. I lived up near Florence. Part of that, I was in North Carolina 7 years ago. My husband was given an amazing job opportunity. The only caveat was I had to sell my farm of almost 20 years. And I put everything on the line. I felt like the goddess was like, Taren, you know, you want to go out and visit the world, here's an opportunity. So we moved to California. We were there for 7 years. Yes, it was like Beverly Hillbillies coming to town in a lot of ways. I will be the very first to admit that one, with my country ass showing up someplace, and especially if I was slightly stoned or drunk, and my southernese got southerner, and then you get me talking, and you know how I love to porch talk. All right, and so for a lot of those folks, I became like almost like, oh my God, is she real? Yes, she's real. Yes, the stories I told were true. They were all about here in the low country of South Carolina. Now I find it fascinating because I come back home. I've been back here for a couple months. We were able to find us a really nice farm, piece of property. We got 5 acres with a huge barn on it and small living quarters, and we're expanding the living quarters. We're working on getting our fields ready because we're working with equine rescue organization and giving them access to all of our pastures over on the side here. We're also working on getting a couple of glamping sites up, a little bit of a witch village. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, them. I have some plans. I tell people when I went to California, this is where y'all, little bravado in my voice here. I'm like, ooh, give me 1 sec. Let me take a sip of this fuzzy water. I lived in North Carolina as a child, moved to South Carolina, became involved in the Botanica, Papa Nico, my mentor, my godfather, and I lived in Magic community. And I didn't realize how much of a little bubble I lived in. And then I was given the opportunity to go to California and to look back on my world and to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly with my world as a Southerner, you know, and especially as a Southerner European descent. Yes, I have CSA relatives. CSA is the Confederate States of America. Yes, I have a great-grandfather and great-uncle. I also have a couple of great-great-cousins, and which were involved in that. They were poor dirt farmers. I do go to the cemetery. And sometimes I think, like, in today's world, how we got people following stupid. We got people who got all caught up, people who don't know better. That's a lot what was going on then too, you know? It was the 1% plantation owners, aristocrats, riling up the working class folk. Sound familiar? Yeah. All right, and I'm not saying that, you know, trying to justify or qualify because what they did was wrong, period. But also putting context to where they were, the decisions they made, you know, and these are my ancestors. And it's up to me to know their history so I can do better. It's not about hiding my history. If anything, I think I need to shout it from the rooftop sometimes so people know, so we don't do dumb shit stuff again. That's what it's about. So, we're doing the getting personal with Taren. I'm going to be all over the place in this video. Just sit back, chat, treat it like a podcast and enjoy the chat. But that is for each of us. We all have these stories, these ancestral traumas, generational traumas, and a lot of us don't even know the stories past the third generation. So for me, this area is all of my family stories. And going to California, I got to look back and see my world. I also got to see where I needed to learn to dream bigger. And I want to thank all of the California witches and other interesting magical people I stood in space with who whispered up some amazing, you know, words in my ear. I learned so much those 7 years. Grateful for them. And then my husband, his contract was done. It was time for us to come back home. And so here we are, and here I am now at almost 60. In February, y'all, I'll be 60. All I have to say is, black magic's been good to me. Just saying, y'all. On it. That and a good moisturizer, and never ever go to sleep with your makeup on. All right? That's all. It's been a good rule of mine. Stay out of the sun as well. But I came back here with fresh eyes on my world, knowing things I wanted to do, things I wanted to create. And as YouTube, this is where these two come together as a YouTube content creator. How am I going to handle all of the changes around me? How involved do I want my viewers to be? Do I really want you in my space? Or am I going to keep it carefully scripted and curated and only show pieces, you know? And I felt like the first couple of years, to a degree, almost that's what I was doing. And I was like, you know, I don't think I like that. I think I want to get more personal and get a little more on my journey, and at times my struggles. I'm just like every one of you witches and interested magical people out there. I have good days, I have bad days. I have some days where I wake up, I walk outside and I'm like, hello, sunshine. I have other days where I walk outside and I'm like, and go back in and shut the door. All right? And finding that balance with those, you know, I am neurodivergent, spicy neuro, on the spectrum, all sorts of ways to say I'm highly functioning Asperger's. When you get around me in person, you pick up on that. Here on YouTube, you don't see it as much. And, you know, it's like, oh, Taren seems all bright and happy, and she seems like she's really good. She knows stuff. I am socially awkward and have high anxiety when I am in a room full of people and I'm not in control or in charge of the situation. I like to know what's going on. I like things carefully planned out. I like my days to have a certain rhythm. I did a video right after coming to South Carolina where I was like, I'm discombobulated, and I didn't realize how much truly it was going to affect me. I thought that I was like, I have good tools in my toolbox. I had okay tools in my toolbox, and it took me a month to sort of come around and get a little rhythm. And when doing that for me was really about keeping myself on a healthy schedule, making sure I went to bed early. I was really good about being in bed by 10 o'clock, you know, getting up early, making sure I eat something in the morning, getting outside, taking a walk, even taking a walk when it was raining. I remember a couple of days it was raining and I just got out and walked in the rain and it felt good. But keeping myself really, really grounded was for me inside of myself, and I still had a hard time with it. You know, it's really difficult for all of us, and I want y'all to understand. That's why I'm talking about my own personal challenges. You know, that sometimes the social media, it's too easy to make it look like something else. It's too easy to make it aesthetically pleasing, pretty, and to not show the grit, the down and the dirty of it, all right? And that we are all complex creatures of many things. And you are a complex creature of many things. You're allowed to be those, all of it, you know? And another thing for me was the realization that some people think that I run around witching 24 hours a day. And I'm like, yes, I'm always witching. Yes, I'm always a witch. I just had a conversation with the tree outside that I had to pull a grape down off of it and I broke its branch. And I was like, oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. You know, little hug and kiss there on it. At the same time, I was out there with my chainsaws, my nippers, my gloves, a giant wagon, ripping down grapevines because I'm cleaning up property. I also paint because all of the painting around here, you'll see me doing tiling, you'll see me on the tractor. I like being in the country. Our farm that we had was my teacher. That's where my gardens were, and I want them back here. And I know for many of you witches who are sitting there like, oh, yeah, next year I'm gonna garden. The year after, you know, I should have done it this year. Oh gosh, I should have. And that feeling that you're not gonna. And I wanna give you encouragement and tell you, just plant one thing. Plant that basil bush I keep talking about, super easy to grow. do it. Stop talking about it. Do it. And start realistic. Start small. I think the biggest thing that holds people back, holds witches and magical folks back, is that we get wrapped up sometimes in shame and guilt of what we haven't done. And it stops us from doing what we need to do and going forward. Although it's probably going forward that way. But y'all know what I'm saying. Excuse me. Give me one sec. We get wrapped up in this, I wish, I could, I shoulda, I woulda, I coulda. I wish I had. All right, you didn't do it. That was yesterday. Let's talk about today. And today, all you have to do is one thing. Right now, I'm dealing with pastures that ain't been picked up in a decade. My attitude is, all I have to do is pick up one stick. Maybe two, every day. That's it. All right. I do not have the stamina. I'm an older woman to get out there and work for 8-10 hours, nor do I have the time to get out and do that either. But what I did was find a little place where in the morning I run around on my golf cart and I pick up a couple of sticks and I throw it in the pile. And I've been doing that now for about 3 months. And I've cleaned up 2 of my pastures. I'm working on my other one. And now I'm over on this side with that same a little bit. Don't overwhelm yourself. And this is the same thing with your magical spiritual practice. You don't have to learn all the herbs. You don't have to learn all the crystals. You don't have to learn Latin. You don't need to be memorizing 5-circle cast and know how to open up or create a space, 3 different ways. Yes, I can cast a circle. Yes, I can create a compass. And yes, I can open the crossroads. And if you would like, I'll just bless it for you. All right? Sometimes we feel like we got to get it all at once. If I can't have it now, then it's never going to happen. And as an old witch who's slowly been taking bites a little bit at a time for quite a while now, I think I've done pretty good and feel confident with telling you, well, this is a good way to do it. All right? I have accomplished so much by doing a little bit at a time. And that is how my magic has been as well. It's done at my space, my comfort, all right? When I do go down rabbit holes, it's because I do it for me, not because I'm feeling like I'm not hip, not on trend. I need to know these things. The only thing I need to know is what's between me and divinity, what's between me and the goddess. It is a personal relationship. And that's something else I'm going to get into and talk a little bit about. My personal relationship with divinity. Everybody's asked me about it. First of all, I use the phrase divinity as an umbrella term for any phraseology to do with gods, goddesses, the divine, angels, demons, all of that falls under divinity. That's just my phrase. It's a way of including everyone in the room. All right. My personal, I don't talk a lot about. I don't think we should. I think we should have our personal relationships. It shouldn't be sitting at a table with, what God do you worship? Oh, what goddess do you worship? I don't feel comfortable with that. And this is, again, me personal. I'm not saying that you shouldn't and all that. You do you, boo. But for me, it is a more personal relationship, one that's in private, that's my time in front of my altar. Over the years, I have always had a relationship with the divine feminine, a very fancy way of saying goddesses. You'll hear me reference Hecate periodically. I knew about Hecate before she was cool, just saying. Just saying, witches. I've got an entry from 30 years ago on a prayer to Hecate in one of my books. And it seems like the past 10 years now, all the young witches have found her. And I think that they need to find her. I think Hecate is very much needed in this day and age. It's the witches rising up. It's one of the witches goddesses rising up, uniting us, helping us to find our voices and our power. We are what shifts the world. We are the spearhead of humanity. You know, magic flows through us. And so we need Hecate right now. I have other relationships with other goddesses that very personal again to me. I've journeyed within the House of Witchcraft. We encourage our folks to journey, spend a season with different goddesses that are associated with witchcraft. Carolyn, Diana, Aradia, y'all are going to put me on the spot, Inanna, Hecate, are all goddesses that are associated with witches. And within the House of Witchcraft, within our tradition, we encourage those in which feel compelled. It's not a requirement to do this. Also with the gods as well, gods that are associated with the greenwood, with magic, again, to spend time, a season with them. And it's okay if your altar gets dusty sometimes, witches. And back to that, I think sometimes we allow shame and guilt and woulda, coulda, shoulda, yesterday's stuff to come into today's stuff, and it freezes us. We're like, oh, I didn't do it yesterday, I might as well not do it today. And our altars get dusty, our gardens get weedy, life gets a turn. What do? You dust off your altar, go back at it. That's simple. All right, you had a season of a dusty altar. Now it's time to make a season of active altar, you know? Don't guilt yourself out of your practice. That's some wise words right there, witches. Y'all need to write that down. I'm gonna say it again. Do not guilt yourself out of your practice. You have nothing to be guilty for. You have been busy living your life. Your priorities have shifted, all right? Witchery, witchcraft, covens, organizations, religion, spirituality, yes, it should be on your top 10 list of things I need to pay attention to, but damn it, it should not be on your top 3. Family, first actually, you, family, and friends. Top 3. You are number 1 on that list. Never forget that. You are number 1. You are the priority. If you're not healthy, if you're not happy, you can't help anyone else. And there, you all know what I'm saying on it, but on your top 10 should be spirituality, should be your religion, whatever phraseology you use. And it's going to change. It's going to go up and down the list. Some might be number 4 this month, this season, this year. Next year, it may drop down to number 9. And again, that's okay. That's life. I know that when my kids were really short little people, I was, wearing the same t-shirt for 3 days in a row, doing mommy soccer things. Yeah, my altar did not have time for a lot other than me like throwing it as I ran by, And then as my life changed and things did, I set up an altar. I started doing a little more meditation because I had time to meditate. And then when I moved out to California, I was lucky enough to be able to have my own little room where I could set up my own space. Now that I'm back here in South Carolina, I got a basket and I sit out on the porch and sit there and do my thing. I have my witchy basket. I don't have a permanent altar set up. I don't have any right now permanent spaces, and I'm fine with that. For me, just being out on my property working the farm is my altar, if that makes any sense. And giving myself permission to be like that. Back to, I'm not putting guilt on it. I'm like, oh my God, I have to have this beautiful altar all set up, you know, or else I can't be a witch, or, you know, the goddesses aren't going to talk to me. God won't like me anymore type deal. No, I don't. No, I don't. In fact, wait, y'all, let me show you what I got. Because I got it sitting right here. And yes, I'm actually going to get up and walk away from my camera and come back. Because I want y'all to see right now my altar. I said it was sitting right by the door. Y'all see my basket? This is my altar right here. All right. And I want you to, somebody asked me how I get dirt. This is my little thing right here. I was up at the courthouse and I just walked up. I had another basket that I had things in, and this was in it. I just stopped right in front, right dead center on the steps of the courthouse, and I'm just out here doing this little swish. And when I get me a little dirt up in there, and then I put it in my little bag, put my little dustpan back in here. And right now I have some incense, because I like my incense. I have a candle I'm getting. I was working one of Miss Drew's candles. I've also got some really nice thyme in here. What else do I have? Ooh, parsley. I just love working parsley for prosperity. For me, the little flakes of prosperity are $100 bills just falling down. All right, that's how I envision. I'm also working some wormwood because I'm working the spirits for the dead. And here is my little cauldron of happiness. This is a true cast iron cauldron. All of the things go up in here. Oh, and I have a feather. And I put things in here. I bring it out. I sit there, I light a candle, I bring out my book, I say prayers, I bring out my Bible, I read the Psalms, I bring out other people's books who wrote down nice things, and I read those out loud. Things that inspire me and make me feel like they're helping me to be a more balanced witch is my requirement. And it comes from all over the place. There's no telling what I have found and what I'm reading or what I'm doing. I found this really cool wasp, and he was dead. So I put him in a little cup, and I took him out last night under the full moon and was giving him his sting back, that he can find the sting. And I put him in a little jar because I'll use him in a working for when I want to send a good sting out there. And so that's what I did last night for the full moon. Was I made friends with the wasp spirit, and he's very content, and I felt good about it, and I got the good feeling. So I put him in a jar for future use. I look around my yard, my magical ingredients, very much so about harvesting them here. And the back field over here is some really nice, like hay, sweetgrass. And so I'm planning on going back there this week and cutting some and braiding it up for some smudging. You know, very much about use what's in your neighborhood. You know, here we have sweet orchard grass, we have beautiful alfalfa grasses, you know, and you can make a sweet grass burn for doing your smudging. And there's something satisfying about going out into the field, harvesting it, creating it, putting it up to dry. When I was in California, I did use white sage. The reason I used it is because it grows in the ditches there. It grows where state maintenance mows, all right? Where I was living in California, it was native. The problem is that it is not being sustained. It's being illegally harvested on public lands, and people who live in far off places and have never seen it, all they did was raid, ooh, you have to use sage, are buying it, all right? That's wrong. Don't do that, all right? Look to your region. Look to your dirt. You have the smudging ingredients there. If you're, up in Washington, Oregon, I know that they love to use those long pine. They can get like this long spruce pine and they make these bundle sticks out of them and they smell so good. I got to experience that once, but what it made me realize is that the biggest thing with witchcraft is that we suffer, and I want to say suffer because a lot of folks don't understand this, is that all witchcraft suffers from bioregionalism. Bioregionalism is that fancy ass word that you're like, ooh, and really what it means is local grown. That's it. Local myths, local beliefs, local customs, local cultures, local magic. And you embracing your dirt where you stand, and I know for some of you witches, you're standing there and there's no magic here. Yes, there is. I guarantee it. I get off talking about my woods, my dirt, my flavor here in the Low Country, all right? Because I'm proud of it. And I love when I get to talk to some of those Midwest witches who are proud of their cornfields, And you go down to Alabama and you get to see some crazy-ass swamp witches down there. The most fun people ever. No disrespecting on them. All right? But this is these different flavors up in the Appalachians. Those Appalachian witches, especially if they're lower down, and then you get into the mid-Appalachians where you're up into West Virginia, and then you go all the way up into upstate New York. All right? Understand these are all different regions. What's happening on my side of the mountain may not be happening on your side of the mountain. The local lore, the local myths, they are, can you take a haint home? Is the question I've been asking folks. Here where I live is boo hags and haints. And they are evil spirits that can cause you problems. They're from this area. It is an amalgamation of African enslaved peoples coming Europe, living here in the Low Country, and then it was Irish, and then throw Native American, and you get this, back to the word funky, or phraseology, funky gumbo, but you get the stories and the beliefs of boo hags and haints. This is where haints are from. This is where boo hags are from. All right. Can I take a haint to New York? Can I take a haint to Washington State? Can I take a haint to California? And I think on the flip side of this, because in Hawaii is the Menehune, and they're the Hawaiian little people. They're not fairies. Do not equate them. The local folk get upset. Menehune are completely different little guys. All right, Menehunes can be helpful, or they can push you off cliffs if you're not being respectful. Wonderful myth, wonderful mythologies, the stories of the Menehunes. When I was on Oahu, a long time ago in the early 90s, I lived in Hawaii on the island of Oahu in a town called Aiea. I'm very lucky I live with local folk. So I got to hear these stories, and I got to go to a Kapuna circle and leave offerings and hear the story of Pele. And on the way back, be careful for Minahuni. My question is, can I bring Minahuni to South Carolina? Can I bring Minahuni to New York? And thinking about this, when we talk about some of our local, regional myths, creatures, creations, aspects, spirit of place, whatever word you want to use, that's what they are. The trolls of Norway and Iceland. We had one of our house members who just returned from spending time in Iceland, getting to really get into the troll mythology. And we were discussing it, and there was like, something's definitely there. You know, very much like the Irish in Ireland, where they will take a road around a fairy mound. They do not disturb them. In Iceland, if there is a mountain or a certain rock formation that has been signified as somehow troll, place they hang out or a place they like, then they will make the highway around the troll. So, can I bring a troll home? You know, should I be doing magic with it? This is something I would like to hear from you all. I know I got quite a few of you in the comments that smart witches. I know you're out there. You leave good comments and make me think. What are y'all's thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on my rambling videos, which I plan on doing a little bit more of, probably with a little more, you know, structure to them. I'm still new to this, where I'm like, I'm just going to talk about things that are going on in my life. You know, I'm currently getting ready to go dig up some wild honeysuckle because I'm making some trellises, and I'm going to grow wild honeysuckle over some arbors, because standing under wild honeysuckle makes people feel happy. So I'm making a beautiful arbor with honeysuckle so people can stand under it and feel happy. That's part of my witchery witchcraft. When they're like, what are you doing? You know? And I'm thinking, I'm making happy spaces. You know? I look at the world better, and the world does become better. And some days it's hard, and it's about striving. Witchcraft's not perfection, all right? We're a practice, we're in progress, we're evolving, we're changing, we're in the moment, we're all those things. And so I want y'all to embrace it. And I'm gonna finish up with this one. I think I chatted up on y'all enough. You done heard me. To the ones which watch to the very, very end of this one, you know what I'm gonna say? You're the good ones. Y'all get your gold stars. You watch till the end. And of course, if you're like, Taren, why don't you talk about this? Or you want to hear me chit chat about something? Leave it in the comment below. All right. I keep my notes and then I sit down and chat. But in the coming months, I'm going to show you what I'm setting up. And also, y'all heard earlier on about that little witch village place where I'm putting out some short-term rentals. You will have an opportunity, we're about a year away at this point, to be able to come down here to Charleston and spend a couple of days on the farm with me and my chickens. And with that said, witches, get out there, fly those brooms, have a bright, blessed day, and as always, amen, blessed be, ashe, and efabo. Good for me. Let the beauty that is within you come out. Believe in yourself, and it'll happen. I know, because I did. There's some wisdom from a happy dark witch. All right, witches, get out of here. Bye. Yes, it's weed. THC. I smoke.